One of my dream road trips has been for a long time to go to the Lofoten area also in the winter time. I've been there in the summer and it's absolutely stunning, but now I want to experience it also in the winter time. So after the car was filled up and all the luggage was in place, I started off the first day from Västerås, where I live, up to the high coast area in Sweden. So the first night I stayed here at a camp place called Sörjelsta. It's close to Skuleberget at the high coast in Sweden. But now it's starting to snow a lot and it's really windy, so the idea was to take the coast road up north in Sweden, but it will be even worse weather there, so I will try to drive through the inland instead. But I can really recommend this place if you're passing through or staying at the high coast area. It's a really nice camp place. Really good sanitary building with super clean toilets, shower, kitchen and everything you need. So really recommend it, Sörjelsta outside Skuleberget. The driving conditions were really challenging with a lot of wet snow, and actually many parts it snowed so much you couldn't see any difference on the road and the surrounding areas. So it took me the whole day to go up to Jokkmokk in Sweden, and I arrived very late in the evening and fell asleep immediately. It's Sunday, and yesterday I drove from Jokkmokk up against Kiruna in Sweden, and the roads were very good and it was fantastic weather. But then after Kiruna the roads got really icy and it was a real challenge, as I have all-terrain tires without any studs. Tonight it's been snowing again and quite windy, and it's still snowing, but I will try to continue on these icy roads against Narvik and then over to the Lofoten Islands. So we'll see, it will for sure be a challenging drive. After crossing the border to Norway, I continued on, it was quite small roads and still a lot of icy roads with snow. So you had to drive real carefully, but on the way a lot of beautiful views to enjoy and a fantastic landscape all the way. Halfway I stopped for a lunch break, and you can't complain of the view from your lunch table. It's magnificent, and with the sun shining through the clouds. So it was really impressive. And then finally I reached to the northern part of the Lofoten Islands and continued down to Svolvær, where I should spend the first night. Close to Svolvær I made a stop at Austneset viewpoint for a few hours of photography. An amazing view, and I had some real luck with the weather, with a beautiful light over the mountains. It's Monday. I arrived to Lofoten yesterday and I'm staying at the Kastenwagen camping just outside of Svolvær. Small, very nice camping with very friendly owner. It's only me and another car here, so it's very quiet. Beautiful surroundings, and I will continue explore the area of Svolvær today, I think. After 4 days with a lot of driving and with a lot of snow, icy roads, I decided to stay for 2 nights at the same place, Kastenwagen Ferryhus and Camping. And it was really nice to just enjoy the surrounding areas of Kastenwagen, which is almost attached to Svolvær. So, after spending half a day in Svolvær just relaxing, I took lunch, and after that I continued a bit south down on the Lofoten Islands down to a small village called Henningsvær. The road to Henningsvær is quite small, but with some real amazing views on the way. And the village is a small harbor village, and was really nice just to walk along and enjoy the nature, the surroundings. Lofoten is very famous for their dried fish, and they start this process in February by hanging the fresh caught cod on these racks, which were placed all over Henningsvær. And actually the whole area had a smell of these fish racks, which also followed me in a van for at least 1 day. But a great experience to see this, and the area of Henningsvær is also very beautiful, so I spent half a day there also, taking some nice photos and enjoying this nice little village. After a day full of experiences, I went home, made some dinner, and then the next day I continued down to Haukland beach. And as always in Lofoten, beautiful views wherever you drive. The plan was also to visit Uttakleiv beach, which is next to Haukland beach, but the road was impossible for me to drive on. It was pure ice with a layer of water on top of it. The weather was not the best. It's raining a lot and quite windy, but it's a beautiful place, and I will for sure go back there another time. So anyway, I spent a few hours as usual just walking around, enjoying nature and taking some photos. After some hours in Haukland, I continue south down to the most southern part of Lofoten Islands, down to Reine, and then I turn around up against Hamnøy. These two villages are two of the most famous in Lofoten, and actually it's hard to drive in the Lofoten area because there is so much beautiful views all the way to watch. And in Hamnøy, of course, I had to take my own version of one of the most classic Lofoten views. After that, I turned north again up to a place called Skagsanden Beach, and I was hoping for some better weather, but unfortunately I had not the best luck. But still, it's a really beautiful place, and as always, I stopped for photographing for some hours. It's Wednesday, and this night it was terrible weather. It rained a lot, and then I mean a lot, and it was almost a storm outside. That means that the roads are very slippery, with water floating on the icy roads, and I decided to go to the south part of Lofoten today, maybe the most tourist intensive area with the famous villages Hamnøy and Reine. But there was a lot of Japanese tourists, hundreds of them. Everybody traveled in a Toyota minivan, and everybody equipped with minimum one tripod and one camera. So very busy, and everybody taking exactly the same photos everywhere. So that was not for me. So I turned around up north again, and now I arrived to a beach called Stor Sandnes, which should be beautiful, but the weather is terrible right now, so I made a short lunch stop. And the next beach is Myrland Beach, but I haven't decided if I will continue on this road because it's very icy. So we will see how this day will turn out. The rain continued, and also with some quite strong winds, but still I managed to get some photos even though the light was really difficult for photography. And after a few hours here I turned south again down to Nusfjord, a small little village. The road down to Nusfjord was very beautiful with some amazing views of the mountains. And of course the village is very beautiful, but for me it was a little bit too overexploited as a tourist attraction. You had to pay entrance to enter the village, and they tried to sell you a lot of things. So I spent a short time there, maybe an hour or something like that, and then I turned north again back to the camping. The next day it was time to start the return home, and I drove from Svolvær up to Lødingen, where I should take the ferry the next day over to Bognes. And I stayed at Lödingen Bobil camp, which is a few minutes from the ferry terminal, and you got a beautiful view in front of your camper over the sea. And you can also sit and enjoy the ferries when they pass by you in front of the car. They go back and forth about every hour. After a good night's sleep and some nice breakfast, it was time to head down to the ferry terminal. It's Friday morning and it's beautiful weather outside. I am in Lödingen and waiting for the ferry over to Bognäs. And after that I will continue south in Norway, but I have no planned destination, so I will see where I will end up. After arriving with the ferry to Bognäs, I continue to Saltstraumen, which is a spectacular natural phenomenon, and it's a maelstrom that occurs when tidal waters flow in and out of the narrow strait connecting the outer Saltenfjord with the Kjærstad fjord. Every 6 hours, 400 million cubic meters of water forces its way through the 3 kilometers long and 150 meters wide strait at speeds up to 20 knots. It's really impressive to watch. It's like a gigantic whirlpool, or almost look like a lava or something. So I really recommend it if you are in the area. And after that I spend the night at the small campsite near this Saltstraumen. The next day I continue south over Saltfjellet, the Salt Mountain. This road is very often closed during winter because of it's really exposed to heavy wind and snow. It was open this day, but I have to drive in a convoy, which means that cars can only go in one direction at a time. So you have to wait for the leading car and then you follow in a long queue with cars. And when your queue has passed, they can take the other queue in the opposite direction. And after that I arrived later the evening to Hauknes, where I spent the night at the small harbor and enjoyed some dinner. The next day I continue over Steinfjellet, and there you have this amazing tunnel which you can only drive in one lane, and then you have meeting points inside the tunnel. And at the end of the tunnel it's a closed gate which opens when you approach it, and this is to keep the snow outside of the tunnel when it's really heavy wind. I then continue on small but very beautiful winter roads down to the Swedish border, and then continue down to Hammerdal, where I spent the night. And then the next day, after almost 2 weeks of amazing experiences, it was
time to head home again, but I will soon be back in the north of Norway again, one of my absolute favorite destinations.